Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hear2See channel, where we focus on sharing pearls of wisdom, nuggets of knowledge, understanding the difficult, and instructions for a better life. We have an overview of the Bible book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes, culture in the light of revival. Ecclesiastes is a search for the wisdom of life. And as always, we will look at Dr. Chuck Swindoll's Insight for Living webpage that has overviews for each book of the Bible. The outline of Dr. Swindoll's review is: who wrote the book? Where are we? Why is Ecclesiastes so important? What's the big idea? How do I apply this? And we'll look at the Bible study aid provided by Charles Swindoll's Ministries. But first, Ecclesiastes. Who wrote the book? The title Ecclesiastes comes from a Greek word indicating a person who calls an assembly, so it makes sense that the author identified himself in Ecclesiastes 1:1 by the Hebrew word Gohethleth, translated as preacher, despite leaving only this rather mysterious name to indicate his identity. Evidence in the book, along with most Jewish Christian tradition, suggests that King Solomon authored Ecclesiastes. The preacher went on to call himself the son of David, king in Jerusalem, one who has increased in wisdom more than all who were over Jerusalem before me, and one who has collected many proverbs. Ecclesiastes 1:1, verse 16, chapter 12, verse 9. Solomon followed David on the throne in Jerusalem as the only Davidic son to rule over all Israel from that city. Chapter 1, verse 12. He was the wisest man in the world during his time. 1 Kings chapter 4, 29 to 30. And wrote most of the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 1, chapter 10, verse 1, chapter 25, verse 1. Therefore, we can safely identify Solomon as the Goheleth of the opening verse. Where are we? And this is a map of the Promised Land at the time of the Exodus. And Solomon, of course, ruled over all Israel. With Solomon as the author of the book, we know it had to have been written sometime before his death in 931 BC. The content of Ecclesiastes reflects someone looking back on life that was long in experience but short on lasting rewards. As king, he had the opportunity and resources to pursue the rewards of wisdom, pleasure, and work in and of themselves. Yet, the world-weary tone of the writing suggests that late in life, he looked back on his folly with regret, pointing us to a better, simpler life lived in light of God's direction. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verses 13 and 14. Why is Ecclesiastes so important? Ecclesiastes presents us a naturalistic vision of life, one that sees life through distinctly human eyes, but ultimately recognizes the rule and reign of God in the world. This more humanistic quality has made the book especially popular among younger audiences today, men and women who have seen more in their fair share of pain and instability in life, but who still cling to their hope in God. What is the big idea? Ecclesiastes, like much of life, represents a journey from one point to another. Solomon articulated his starting point early in the book. vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 2, indicating the utter futility and meaninglessness of life as he saw it. Nothing made sense to him because he had already tried any number of remedies, pleasure, work, and intellect to alleviate his sense of feeling lost in the world. However, even in the writer's desperate search for meaning and significance in life, God remained present. For instance, we read that God provides food, drink, and work, chapter 2, verse 24. Both the sinner and the righteous person live in God's sight, chapter 2, verse 26. God's deeds are eternal, chapter 3, verse 14. And God empowers people to enjoy His provision, chapter 5, verse 19. Ultimately, the great truth of Ecclesiastes lies in the acknowledgement of God's ever-present hand in our lives. Even when injustice and uncertainty threaten to overwhelm us, we can trust Him and follow after Him. Chapter 12, verses 13 and 14. How do I apply this? We all desire meaning in life. Often that search takes us along winding, up and down paths filled with bursts of satisfaction that shine brighter for a time but eventually fade. In one sense, it's satisfying to see that experience echoed throughout Ecclesiastes. An appreciation for our common humanity emerges from reading its pages. We relate to the journey of Solomon because for many of us, it's our own. When we attempt to find meaning in the pursuit of pleasure, commitment to a job, or through plumbing intellectual depths, we all eventually find in each of these pursuits a dead end. Ecclesiastes shows us a man who lived through this process and came out the other side with a wiser, more seasoned perspective. When we're surrounded by the temptation to proclaim life's ultimate emptiness, we can find in Ecclesiastes a vision tempered by experience and ultimately seen through divinely colored lenses. Life is destined to remain unsatisfying apart from our recognition of God's intervention. It only remains to be seen whether or not we will place our trust in His sure and able hands. Have you struggled with misplaced pursuits in life? Does your life lack the meaning and purpose you desire? Hear the words of Solomon that they may encourage you to place your trust solely in the Lord. And now, let's look at the Ecclesiastes Bible study chart from Dr. Swindoll's Ministries. And as we zoom in, we can see it's divided into 4 different sections. We have the introduction, the investigation and discoveries, admonition, and conclusion. The introduction is Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1 through 11. The investigation and discoveries is split into 2 groups. Personal pursuits, Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 12 through chapter 6, verse 12. Personal pursuits, knowledge, pleasure, possessions, madness and folly, work, power, and wealth. And then the next group is Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1 through chapter 11, verse 6. Conclusions. Without God's help, humans cannot discover what is good for them to do. Without God's revelation, humans do not know what will come after them. And then we've got the admonition. Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 7 to chapter 12, verse 8, a warning to the young, a picture of old age, and a final admission. And the conclusion, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 9 through chapter 14, the end of the search. Fear God, obey Him. Someday you will face Him. Wonderful Bible study chart. There's a lot more to see, so be sure to check that out. The links are in the description below. And that's been our introduction to Ecclesiastes. We're going to be reading one Hear journal at a time, all the way through Ecclesiastes. We already have Hear journals for each chapters of many books of the Bible, working our way through to have a Hear journal on every chapter in the whole Word of God. So be sure to follow along with us as we go through Ecclesiastes. Comment below, share your experiences with us. Have you read through Ecclesiastes? Have you done some Hear journaling? Are you planning to read along with us? Well, let us know. Comment below. And if you don't know Jesus, read the Gospel of John chapter 3 to learn about His forgiveness and talk to God about it. Be sure to talk to God. He loves you. He's waiting for you. Seek Him now. See you in chapter 1.